Welcome to Witch Way. I'm Elise, and this is the real world witch lore of the City of the Dead. Also known as Horror Hotel, this classic horror was released in 1960 and stars Venetia Stevenson as Nan Barlow, Dennis Lotus as Richard Barlow, Patricia Jessel as Mrs. Newless, Betty St. John as Patricia Russell, and Christopher Lee as Alan Driscoll. Nan is studying the history of witchcraft. Her college professor, Alan Driscoll, recommends a visit to the small town of Whitewood, as they have their own history of witch trials. She travels to the small town and stays at the Ravens Inn, owned by the mysterious Mrs. Newless. The townsfolk are acting strange, and Nan discovers that their association with witchcraft is not a thing of the past. After a few days, Richard Barlow, Nan's brother, tries to contact his sister, but no one has even heard of the Ravens Inn or Whitewood. After a visit to her professor, he too takes the trip to find out what happened to her. He discovers a coven of witches are attempting to carry out a ritual. Is he too late to save Nan? And now the witches have their sights set on another young woman in town. Will Patricia be their next victim? The film's opening scene portrays the events of the execution of a witch.
Elizabeth Selwyn, on this third day of March, in the year of our Lord 1692, we, the people of Whitewood, Massachusetts, condemn thee as a witch.
Though Whitewood is a fictional town, Massachusetts did have a witch trial that started that same year, the infamous Salem witch trials. And though many films, including this one, portray those found guilty of witchcraft in New England being burned at the stake, this was not the case. Indeed, in parts of Europe, witchcraft was considered heresy, and heretics were burned at the stake, sometimes alive, although they also seem to have been strangled before being set aflame. In New England, like its namesake, witchcraft was a crime, and hanging was the punishment. In the Salem witch trials, 19 people were found guilty of witchcraft and hanged. One was even crushed to death under interrogation. Those found guilty and executed for witchcraft met the criteria to be denied burial on consecrated ground.
Right by the graveyard.
Yes, it has not been used for more than 200 years.
Any witches buried there?
There are indeed, all in a section of unconsecrated ground.
During her visit to Whitewood, Nan quickly becomes an expert on witches.
Listen to this. On Candlemas Eve, February 1st, in the year 1692, a coven of witches, a coven that's 13, some men, some women, whose power came from the devil, gathered beneath the Ravens Inn to perform a black mass in the honor of Lucifer.
In Salem, it was indeed thought that witches were in league with the devil, but not necessarily meeting in a coven of 13. The idea of witches meeting in covens of 13 was introduced by Margaret Murray in her The Witch Cult in Western Europe, wherein she writes that the people accused of witchcraft during the height of the witch hysteria between the 14th and 17th centuries were indeed witches. These people were apparently part of a pagan fertility cult, and that their covens had 12 members and a leader, making 13. She writes of some of their days of celebration, one being Candlemas, and on Candlemas Eve, 1st of February, Nan discovers a coven of witches. This date, though, also happens to be Imbolc. Originally a Gaelic festival marking the beginning of spring, it has been embraced by modern pagans and witches alike as one of the 8 seasonal festivals marked on the wheel of the year. But in the City of the Dead, these festivals involve something else.
Candlemas Eve. the night when the witches mocked the rituals of the church.
Nan reads about these mock rituals in the Treatise of Devil Worship in New England. Many such treatises were published, such as the 15th century Malleus Maleficarum, or Hammer of Witches, and the 17th century Compendium Maleficarum, both of whom mention witches mocking church rituals with their Sabbaths or their Black Mass. The Compendium Maleficarum suggests that witches had to renounce their faith by trampling on the cross, before then carrying out a mock baptism. It's estimated that over 90,000 people were put to death during the height of the witch trials in Europe. These people, as mentioned, were thought to be in league with the devil, but the City of the Dead mentions the real cause.
Superstition, fear, and jealousy drove the Puritans to accuse their friends and relatives of consorting with the devil.
This film, and specifically this quote, have inspired many music videos and is sampled in both Rob Zombie's Dragula, as mentioned in my Lords of Salem Witch Lore review, and in Witching Hour by In This Moment from their album Ritual. This was a great song, and lead singer Maria Brink says her inspiration for this song came from her fascination with witches and the Salem witch trials. She has also apparently been told by psychics that she was burned as a witch in a past life. She even portrays this in the band's latest music video for Sanctify Me. Witching Hour has definitely made it onto my witchy playlist. You can go and check it out yourself. It's my Witchy Vibes playlist on YouTube Music. City of the Dead has definitely earned its place in pop culture and scores for lore and history. I really enjoyed the classic horror vibes of this film with the rolling fog, the strange townsfolk, and even the gas station attendant who warned her not to travel there. Let me know what you thought of this film, or any requests and recommendations on what I can watch for my next Witch Lore review. If you like what I do here, you can support my channel by donating via the Super Thanks button, or you can simply complete your Witch Way ritual in liking this video, sharing it with anyone you think might enjoy what I do here, and subscribing to my channel to stay notified of my new content release. And as always, thank you very much for watching here on Witch Way.